Well, hello and welcome to Gig Harbor Film Festival's Artist Interview Series. I'm Matt Haver, and joining me today is Ryan Wilkes, director of the short film The Bird in My Backyard, the true story of a window salesman who created a living laboratory for investigating hummingbird behavior in an urban backyard on Canada's west coast. The Bird in My Backyard follows citizen scientist Eric Pittman as he documents the journeys of two female Anna's hummingbirds, ones that we're probably all familiar with out here in the Northwest, as they attempt to raise their young in his urban garden. The Bird in My Backyard will screen alongside another story about hummingbirds, Every Little Thing, and that's on Monday, January 26th at the Gig Harbor Galaxy as usual at 6:30. As a lifelong bird watcher, bird lover, I'm really looking forward to this double feature. So, Ryan, I appreciate you being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, first question, hummingbirds are honestly one of my favorite animals. I grew up, my mom was, a big hummingbird fan. She'd feed them. My grandma loved hummingbirds. I've had feeders for decades. They never cease to amaze me, little flying dinosaurs.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
what was it that first led you to this story and to Mr. Pittman's laboratory?
I mean, it's been a long and winding road for me coming from an engineering background to becoming a filmmaker. And it was actually birds while I was living in New Zealand that
Hmm.
really caught my attention. I was out there exploring the backcountry in my spare time, making like hiking vlogs for YouTube. And I had my first encounter with a Kia, which is actually that bird right there. It's the world's only alpine parrot. And I just, that was my gateway bird, that was my spark bird. And so after moving back to Canada, I found out that we had hummingbirds in Canada. At the time, I was living in the prairies, so we only got the birds in the summer. But I was so keen to go find my first hummingbird, and I did my first summer back in Calgary. And then I moved to the coast, and we have Anna's hummingbirds all year round. So you can imagine how exciting that was for me. So, you know, I love photographing birds in my spare time. It's like my main hobby is wildlife photography, alongside being a wildlife filmmaker. But I was just like, I need to make a film about these birds. They're everywhere, but no one pays attention to them. It's so funny. Well, my partner and I would be stopped along the side of the pathway in our morning walks, staring at a hummingbird. And people would walk by and be like, "Do you see an owl?" We're like, "No, but there's a hummingbird there," and they don't even stop to look. They just like keep going. So that was like, the thing. I was just like, I need to find something. But Eric came along a couple years into me living on the West Coast, and the connection came through a mutual friend. She was like, "Hey, I know you love birds. I have got this neighbor who also really loves birds. He's been filming them for a really long time, hummingbirds in particular." And a couple months after she told me, I took her up on her offer to introduce us, and then within a couple of days, I was sipping coffee in Eric's backyard and watching a mother hummingbird building her nest.
That's always the best way, right? That's how it happens. Hey, I know a guy. I know another bird
Yeah,
lover. Let's put you
yeah.
guys together. And the sign of a true expert filmmaker, you're able to do that. You're able to gesture to that parrot on the right side of the screen. There you go. Nicely done. So you've had a ton of experience birding, bird watching, photography, like you said, and you also have this distinguished black background as a cinematographer. You've worked on shows like Nova, Life on the Edge, Shared Planet, et cetera, many others. Um, I'm curious because hummingbirds are not the easiest subject to get to sit still. I've done a fair amount of attempted photography of the birds in my own backyard. What did you find were some of the most challenging elements of telling their tiny story?
Yes. I mean, all wildlife is so unpredictable. And so I had to put these kind of fail safes into the production to make sure that there would be at least one story to tell. So I followed five different nests through the spring and summer of 2024. Because as Eric says in the film, only about 50% of the eggs that get laid, hatch and fledge
Hmm.
the nest. So, it's tough out there for these little birds. And
Yeah.
so I did things like that, filming way more nests than knew were going to be in the film because just as a safety type precaution. The main nest in Eric's backyard, I actually set up a camera there to roll all day, every day, because I couldn't be there physically all the time filming, but I needed something there that was just in case I missed something. Um, but then, there's the tricky thing is just like the physics of hummingbirds and how fast they are and how they move. And so for that, I did invest in a high-speed camera, which captures amazing slow motion footage so that I could kind of savor these moments when the hummingbird was in frame and not dodging it, right?
Right.
So that was an amazing tool, and I think really like brings the audience into this like magical world of hummingbirds.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. Almost need a tiny little drone to just follow them around if they could get the program
Right.
like that. So, Internet Movie Database, IMDb, says of The Bird in My Backyard, it's a story about the childlike curiosity in all of us, the wonders it can reveal, the doors it can open if we just lean a bit closer. Incredibly close, it sounds like. What's something that surprised you about the project, or something that I love this question for all of our filmmakers? What's something you're going to take away from the experience and maybe into your next, nature documentary or next project?
Mm. I think the thing that stuck with me and that has also seemed to have stuck with a lot of folks who've watched it is just how such a seemingly regular guy like Eric has this incredible story to tell about something that's just his hobby. Like he just leaned into it. One day he noticed this hummingbird building a nest in his yard, and he's just like, I'm going to document this. And it's taken him on this incredible journey. Um, 15 years now, he's been filming them consistently. And he's had some incredible opportunities that have come out of it as well because he's so good at finding nests now. He's so good at recognizing hummingbird behavior. So he's been a subject matter expert on several high-profile nature documentaries. When they need to find a nest to film, they call
Right.
Eric. So it's just like everyone's got this really cool story somewhere to tell. Everyone's kind of into something, and just being able to tap into that and to give him a platform to share that passion and knowledge with the world was just like amazing for me.
I'm going to share my own quick story about I had a rufous hummingbird on its migratory route come through our backyard here in the Bremerton area, and it actually ran into our glass window,
Okay.
and I assumed was a goner. Certainly looked like a goner. Brought him inside. First mistake, and tried to rehabilitate him with a little honey or a little sugar water. And sure enough, woke right back up and hit the window from the other side. So if you're going to do the rehab, do it outside. But strangely enough, again, he seemed fine, a little battered, and kind of shook it off, and then off he went. And the crazy thing was, is that he came back every year, and we nicknamed him Rusty. And he had the little patches kind of where he'd lost some feathers, so we knew we could identify him every year on that migration, and we could set our calendars by this. And those rufous are tiny. I think they have one of the
Yeah,
longest migratory routes of any humming or any bird, I think, for their
that's right.
size.
Yeah.
Mexico to Alaska. But we just, me and my kids, we look forward to seeing Rusty show up every year, and he was just, a regular visitor, even after that first very poor introduction we had to with him.
Poor guy.
Did you?
What
You
a
didn't have any.
trooper
You didn't
though.
have any mishaps like that on the during your shoot at all, did you? Anything? Anybody run into your big lens or anything like that? I hope not.
No, we got away unscathed,
Okay, good.
thankfully. Yeah.
That's great. All right, do what he does, not what I did. Um, so I'm curious. Bird watching takes a ton of patience. As
Mm.
does filmmaking, right? Especially if you're doing nature work. I love taking photographs, like I mentioned earlier. What is for all of our fledgling, to use the appropriate term, filmmakers out there? What's a skill set that you need, and not necessarily for this project, but as a cinematographer and a director of this nature-based type films? What's a good skill set for somebody to have if they're interested in going into this kind of work?
You know, you have to be really naturally curious, I think. Um, the biggest biggest kind of asset I think someone in this business can have, especially when you kind of work like me, where you're making short films, you're wearing a lot of different hats on production. Um, the most important thing is understanding the behavior of the species that you're trying to photograph or film. It's really not about the equipment. And, we, so many people in our business love to just kind of talk about gear and what lens are you shooting on and everything. But man, time in the field, spent trying to understand your subject better beats all of that. So just like really remaining curious and trying to just get closer because you understand the behavior better. Um, can have huge payoffs. So that's what I often tell people. I say, you just got to go out there and try rather than spending weeks online trying to decide what camera and lens you're going to buy. Take what you have and just go. Yeah.
I got a great screensaver on the laptop I'm recording on right now, or a wallpaper actually, that is of a jumping spider, about 2 millimeters across, and who landed on my tomato bush, and literally just took my 50 millimeter lens and turned it around and turned it into a quick macro lens, and boom, and it's like, wow, this could maybe I should sell this to Microsoft. This isn't half bad.
Seriously. I
It's
mean,
a great photo.
I love photographing insects with my phone. Like, the iPhones have
Yeah.
incredible macro capabilities and it's just in all of our pockets. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Quick question. So hummingbirds seem to be a passion of yours. What are some other species that you've photographed or interacted with that really left an impression on you? Or some other
Mm,
animals that you'll remember working with or capturing?
that's a that's a really good one, Matt.
Say with all your experience, it's probably a long list.
There are. I mean, the Kia
Yeah.
again is a bird that I will have a lifelong love affair with. Like they're so magical. Just the fact that, you're in this alpine environment, camping on a ridge far up in the alpine, and you see a group of parrots fly down next to you to check out your camp. It is just pure magic. And so over the past 9 years, I've visited this one national park in New Zealand 10 times now.
Wow.
And I basically just go now to spend time with Kia. They have intelligence rivaling that of primates.
Hmm.
It's just amazing that they can survive in that environment. They're so charismatic. And under that kind of olive green outer coat, under the wing is just this beautiful, fiery red and orange. They're amazing. So
Wow.
that's one. More recently, though, um, I was in Ecuador earlier this year, and there's a bird called the Andean cock of the rock.
Hmm.
And there's a subspecies on the eastern slopes of the Andes that's orange, and everywhere else they're red. And so I went to see this orange species while I was filming a doc, and we got to go to a lek, which is a place where male birds gather to face off for the attention of a female. So we go up into this tree canopy in this tree stand, and the 20 males come in and they're just screaming at the top of their lungs, doing little dances, fighting each other, and that will stick with me for a really long time. Seeing those like displays is what I really live for. Not just like, we joke in bird photography about like a bird on a stick because those are the shots you often see on Instagram, right? Beautiful blurry background, the bird just sitting there so perfectly. But for me, it's about like the behavior and like the environmental portrait rather than just the perfect little bird on a stick shot.
Well, and bringing people right into those experiences we most of us will never ever have. How big a bird are we talking? Uh,
Cock of the Rock is probably the
yeah.
size of a crow, an American
Oh,
crow.
okay, okay. I say
Yeah.
a little bit more. It was larger, might be a little intimidating to be up in that tree stand with. with 100 fighting males.
They're so occupied fighting each other, they don't even seem to notice us.
That's true. You
Yeah.
guys are just part of the scenery.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a ton of experience, like I mentioned, distinguished background working with nature photography, cinematography. What are some ways that our fans here, our Gig Harbor Film Festival supporters and attendees here this month can keep up with you and the work you're doing and some of your art? I assume maybe you're on Instagram and other places to show off your artwork
Yeah.
and your photography and all this fun stuff you've been doing out in the wild.
Yeah, totally. Instagram, I'm pretty active on. So my handle is just it's Ryan Wilkes. And I just recently relaunched my YouTube channel. I started it way back in 2016. It was the first time I ever picked up a camera, and I'm just like, I'm going to be a vlogger. And now I'm a proper filmmaker. So I've
Careful what you
relaunched
wish
this
for, right?
channel. Yeah.
Yeah.
I relaunched the channel, and now it's a lot about documentary filmmaking. Uh, everything from like uh, educational content. There's a whole video on there about how I made the bird in my backyard, talking about the equipment that I use, and hopefully eventually some behind the scenes of future documentaries. So those are the places that you can keep up to date with what I'm doing.
Excellent. And we'll see the film again Monday, January 26th, Harbor Galaxy as part of our Monday movie series. The Bird in My Backyard, Ryan Wilkes, director. Thank you so much for being with us. This has been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure.
And we're
Thanks,
looking
Matt.
forward to the film. You bet. Thank you.